In this episode of Highlight Sundays, Chromecast, Flash, and Target. Hello and welcome back to Highlight Sundays. It is the 6th week of 2014 and here are your highlights. First of all, our PSA of the week comes from Ars Technica. This one concerns the thing everyone uses, Adobe Flash Player. This one is entitled, Adobe releases unscheduled Flash update to patch critical 0-day threat. Long story short, there is a bug found in older versions of Adobe Flash that basically allows an attacker to exploit the system and in doing so, make it run code that the attacker puts in. And I'm sure you can see why that is a problem. An attacker can make your copy of Adobe Flash do basically anything. And of course, we don't want to give attackers that much power, which is why it is quite important to actually get this particular update, which supposedly patches this issue. Now, the thing about Flash is that Flash is everywhere in advertising, in any sites carrying media. So the prevalence of Flash makes these kind of attacks a lot easier to carry out, which is why it's extremely important to get your copy of Adobe Flash updated as soon as possible. That has been your PSA. We move on to yet another article from Ars Technica. This one is kind of between a PSA and just a normal article, and it's entitled, Comcast customer surprised to learn that new router is also a public hotspot. So here's the deal, apparently if you're using a particular new type of Comcast router, it's actually automatically broadcasting a public Wi-Fi signal. Now, in the article, Comcast has actually come out to clarify that this does not tap on your actual internet access. In other words, you're not sharing your internet connection with strangers. You are not actually allowing people to access the internet through your name. So that is one thing to not have to worry about. I guess I can see why they're doing this. It's kind of a crowdsourced way to provide public Wi-Fi coverage for as much area as possible. I understand that and I can respect that idea, but what is kind of strange is the fact that, these guys just aren't informed that their routers are doing this. I mean, surely you could tell your customers you're doing something like that and give them a chance to opt out, but apparently you really have to jump through quite a couple of hoops to even find out that this is happening in the first place. So that particular part is a little bit dodgy. The rest of it is okay, I guess. If you're affected by this particular issue and wish to opt out of this, you can head down to the article in the video description. There is a phone number you can call and you might have to jump through a couple of hoops, but eventually they will turn off that feature. Moving on to the Chromecast. Now, if you remember some months back, the Chromecast was released. It's a little HDMI dongle that you can stick into your TV. And then after that, you can actually stream stuff to that dongle for display on your TV. Now, when it first came out, its functionality was very limited in the sense that there were only a small handful of things you could do. For example, you could stream from the YouTube app on your Android tablet. You can stream individual tabs of Google Chrome, but that was pretty much it. Now, about a week ago, Google actually released the Chromecast SDK. And what that means is any developer interested in actually implementing streaming to the Chromecast can now do so. Personally, this is a huge step forward. I think this is what actually unlocks a Chromecast from being a limited device to one that can possibly do a lot of things. More importantly, this might perhaps bring this up to some sort of a rival to the Apple AirPlay system. I am certainly looking forward to, whatever that can be done with this particular SDK. And who knows, maybe this means I'll be getting one soon. In case you aren't convinced, you might want to check out this Lifehacker article entitled, What's so great about a Chromecast versus other streaming boxes? So this particular article lists some pros and cons of the Chromecast and compares it with some of the existing technologies. So if all this recent news about the Chromecast SDK actually interested you in thinking about buying one, you might want to read this article to see what you are getting and what you are not getting. And in case you are not convinced, check out this particular Gizmodo article entitled, The Best Chromecast App is Now Back in Action. Now, this particular article covers an app called Allcast. Allcast is an app that lets you display pictures and videos from your Android devices, and apparently this was pulled in the past by Google. Since that actually came before any SDK, I'm guessing Allcast kinda hacked their act together, but they managed to get it done, and the app was very popular. And now that the SDK is open, there's no reason to deny them, the app. So I guess, well, that's yet another reason to consider when it comes to thinking about getting a Chromecast. We move on to our next article from Gizmodo. This one is entitled, "A hacker found GPS data in the audio of a police chase video." Simple and straightforward headline. Apparently, if you watch this particular police chase video, which is shot from a helicopter, well, if you do some math to that sound wave, you can actually extract GPS data. And in fact, if you head down to this article, you can see a map of where the actual helicopter has traveled. Just something fun to share. Our last article comes once again from Ars Technica, and it's entitled, "Target hackers reportedly use credentials stolen from ventilation contractor." Now, several weeks back, we actually reported on how Target actually lost a whole bunch of credit card information. Well, if you wanted some closure to that particular story, you can actually head down to the video description and check out this Ars Technica link. So apparently what happened is that a contractor working at Target, in other words, not actually an employee, actually had their credentials leaked in some way. And using this compromised information, the hackers actually spent 2 weeks to upload malware into a whole lot of point of sales terminals. And that was basically how they managed to make off with so much credit card information. Of course, this is a very condensed version of the story. If you're interested to find out more, I do encourage you to check out the article. But alright, that pretty much wraps it up for this episode of Highlight Sundays. If you have any comments, queries, or suggestions, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section below. Don't forget to check out the official Twitter account for this channel at twitter.com/0612TV. As always, I appreciate every like, favorite, and subscription you give me. But until next time, you're watching 0612TV.